unlimited drama series.
They say ignorance is bliss, but I'd rather know my wife is screwing her personal trainer than live in some fairy tale bubble. The name's Evan McKinley, but everyone calls me Mac. I'm 45, built like a brick shithouse from 20 years swinging hammers in construction and apparently stupid enough to think my marriage meant something. It was a Tuesday night when I found the condoms, not just any condoms, the fancy ribbed kind that cost more than my lunch. Hidden in Marta's gym bag like some teenager's secret stash. The same gym bag she'd been clutching like the crown jewels for the past 3 months. Going to another fitness retreat this weekend, honey, she'd said that morning, not even looking up from her phone. Marta McKinley, corporate fitness manager, ambitious as hell and twice as cold. 42 years old with the body of a 30-year-old and the heart of a calculator. I sat in my garage that night, drinking beer and staring at those condoms. 23 years of marriage. And she's buying protection for someone else. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd been protecting her from the truth about what a selfish bitch she was for years. That's when I decided to get creative. See, most guys would storm in screaming, maybe throw some punches, definitely hire a lawyer. But I'm a contractor. I solve problems with my hands and my brain. And Marta's problem was about to become very, very colorful. I walked to my workshop and grabbed a bottle of brilliant green fabric dye, the kind that stains everything it touches for weeks. Mixed it with some industrial-strength itching powder I use for pranks on job sites. Carefully injected the mixture into those fancy condoms with a syringe, then sealed them back up perfect as new. Have fun at your retreat, sweetheart, I muttered, sliding them back into her bag. Friday afternoon, Marta kissed my cheek with all the passion of a dead fish and drove off in her silver Honda. I waited exactly 30 minutes, then called my neighbor, Barb. Mac, you won't believe what I just saw, she said before I could even speak. Barb's 70, lives for gossip, and has binoculars that could spot a zit on the moon. Try me. That muscle-bound idiot from the gym picked up Marta in his BMW. They were all over each other right in your driveway. Disgusting. Julian Carter. I should have known. 38 years old, narcissistic as a peacock, and dumber than a box of hammers. He specialized in personal training for lonely housewives with more money than sense. Thanks, Barb. Keep me posted. Saturday night, my phone buzzed with a text from Barb. You need to see this. Coming over. She showed up with her phone, cackling like a witch. The video was beautiful. Marta and Julian sneaking back to his BMW outside the Sunset Motel, both of them glowing green like radioactive waste and scratching themselves raw. Jesus Christ, Julian was saying in the video. What the hell is wrong with us? Marta looked like the Incredible Hulk's angry sister, clawing at her arms and legs. It won't stop itching. And why won't this green shit wash off? I watched them stumble around the parking lot, scratching and swearing, and felt the first genuine smile I'd had in months. Barb, you're a treasure. What did you do, Mac? Let's just say they got exactly what they deserved. Sunday morning, Marta came home looking like she'd been dipped in green paint and rolled in poison ivy. She'd obviously tried everything to get the dye out. Her hair was fried from bleach. Her skin was raw from scrubbing, but that brilliant green tint clung to her like a guilty conscience. Food poisoning, she lied, not meeting my eyes. Terrible seafood at the retreat. Funny, I said, sipping my coffee. You look more like you rolled around in toxic waste. Very becoming. She shot me a look that could have melted steel, then locked herself in the bathroom for 2 hours. I could hear her scrubbing and cursing through the door. That afternoon, I drove to Murphy's Bar, the kind of dive where construction workers and mechanics gather to complain about their lives. My buddy Darren was already there, nursing a beer and reading the sports page. Darren's ex-military, built like a tank, and loyal as a dog. We've been friends since high school, back when we were both stupid enough to think we'd conquer the world. You look like shit, he said without looking up. Thanks. Buy me a beer and I'll tell you why. I gave him the whole story, the condoms, the dye, the itching powder, the video. By the time I finished, Darren was laughing so hard he nearly choked on his beer. You magnificent bastard, he wheezed. Please tell me you got pictures. Better. Video. I showed him Barb's footage. The entire bar went quiet, then erupted in laughter. Word spread faster than wildfire. By Monday morning, half the town knew about the Green Dream Team. The gym where Marta worked was gossip central. Her best friend Serena, a bottle blonde with the discretion of a megaphone, couldn't keep her mouth shut if her life depended on it. She worked the front desk and knew everyone's business. "Oh my God, Mac," she called when I walked in Monday afternoon. "What happened to Marta? She looks like she fell in a vat of food coloring." "Beats me." She said something about bad seafood. Serena's eyes lit up like Christmas morning. She lived for drama, especially when it involved her so-called best friend. Within an hour, the gym's WhatsApp group was buzzing with theories, memes, and barely concealed glee. Julian wasn't faring much better. The golden boy of Pinnacle Fitness looked like he'd been attacked by a giant highlighter. His usual parade of admirers kept their distance, whispering and giggling behind his back. Mike, the older trainer who'd been around since the gym opened, cornered me by the weight rack. "I heard your wife had some kind of accident," he said with a knowing smirk. "Accidents happen," I replied. "Sometimes karma's just got a sense of humor." Mike laughed. "Karma's got great timing, too. Julian's been strutting around here like he owns the place. Nice to see him taking down a peg." That evening, I found Marta's burner phone. She'd hidden it behind the water heater in the basement. But I'd been suspicious for months. The text messages were a goldmine of stupidity and betrayal. "Can't wait to feel you inside me again," she'd written to Julian just last week. "Your husband's such a loser," Julian had replied. "You deserve so much better. After we're done with this weekend, I'm filing for divorce. Then we can be together properly." I photographed every message, every picture, every disgusting detail of their affair. Then I put the phone back exactly where I'd found it. Marta thought she was so clever, but she'd been sloppy as hell. The woman who organized corporate fitness programs for a living couldn't even hide her own adultery properly. That night, she tried to seduce me, probably feeling guilty about her green-tinged weekend. I pretended to be asleep and listened to her frustrated sighs. Tomorrow, I decided, would be even more interesting. Tuesday morning brought fresh entertainment. Julian's prized BMW, a silver convertible he'd probably financed for the next decade, sat in the gym parking lot looking like a teenager's prank victim. Darren and I had paid it a visit around midnight. Nothing criminal, just creative. All 4 tires were let down, not slashed. I'm not stupid. The windows were soaped with "Cheater's Itch" in bright green letters, and I'd left one of Marta's green-stained towels draped over the dashboard like a calling card. Julian stood next to his car, phone pressed to his ear, face redder than a sunburned lobster. "I don't care what it costs," he was shouting. "Get someone out here now!" The gym staff gathered around, pretending to be sympathetic while barely containing their laughter. Serena was filming everything on her phone, probably for her Instagram story. "Rough night?" I asked, walking up with my gym bag. Julian spun around, his green-tinted face twisted with rage. "You think this is funny?" "I think it's hilarious. Someone's got a wicked sense of humor." "This was you, wasn't it?" I shrugged. "I was home with my wife all night. Ask her." The beautiful thing about Julian was his complete lack of subtlety. Any smart person would have kept their mouth shut, but Julian's ego couldn't handle being the butt of everyone's jokes. "Your wife's too good for you," he snarled, loud enough for everyone to hear. "My wife's got interesting taste," I replied. "Apparently, she likes her men green around the gills." The crowd erupted in laughter. Julian's face went from red to purple, but he couldn't say anything without admitting the truth. That afternoon, Marta cornered me at home. She'd managed to fade the green to a sickly yellow-brown, but she still looked like she'd been dipped in mustard. "We need to talk," she said, arms crossed. "About what? Your food poisoning? You're looking much better." "Cut the shit, Mac. I know you did something." "Did something? Like what?" "The itching, the staining, Julian's car." "Julian's car? What does that have to do with your seafood problem?" She realized her mistake immediately, but it was too late. She just connected herself to Julian in front of me. "I want a divorce," she said finally. "Interesting timing. Right after your romantic getaway." "I don't know what you're talking about." I pulled out my phone and showed her one of the photos from her burner. Julian shirtless, flexing in what was obviously his apartment. "Nice abs," I said. "Very artistic." Her face went white under the yellow-green tint. "Where did you get that?" "I'm a contractor, Marta. I'm good at finding things that are hidden." "You went through my phone?" "Your burner phone. The one you thought you hid so well. 23 years of marriage, and you couldn't even be bothered to cover your tracks properly." She tried to grab my phone, but I pulled it away. "Here's what's going to happen," I continued. "You're going to move out, you're going to file for divorce, and you're going to do it quietly without trying to take half my shit. Or what? Or everyone in town gets to see exactly what kind of woman you really are." She stared at me for a long moment, probably calculating her options. Then she turned and walked upstairs. An hour later, she was gone. That evening, Barb called with more news. "Mac, you need to see what's happening at the gym." "What now?" "Serena posted a video on the gym's social media. It's Julian and Marta from yesterday, both green as grass, trying to sneak around. The comments are brutal." I checked the gym's Facebook page. The video had over 300 views and dozens of comments, most of them laughing at the toxic couple and their environmental disaster. Someone had even created a meme with their faces photoshopped onto the Hulk and She-Hulk. Julian's professional reputation was crumbling faster than a house of cards. His clients were canceling left and right, and the gym's management was getting complaints about the unprofessional conduct of their staff. Perfect. Wednesday brought the charity 5K run, an annual event where the whole town pretended to care about fitness while raising money for the local food bank. Marta and Julian had signed up months ago, back when they thought they were the golden couple of Pinnacle Fitness. I registered that morning, knowing they'd be too proud to back out. The starting line was chaos. Hundreds of runners stretching, chatting, and showing off their expensive gear. Marta and Julian stood together near the front, both wearing long sleeves despite the warm weather. They'd managed to fade most of the green, but under the bright morning sun, they still had a distinctly sickly tint. "Looking good, honey," I called out, jogging past them during warm-ups. Marta ignored me, but Julian stepped forward. "Stay away from us." "It's a public event, sport. Free country. I'm warning you." "You're warning me? That's rich." "What are you going to do, turn greener?" The runners around us were starting to pay attention. Julian's face flushed, making the remaining green tinge even more obvious. The race started and I hung back, letting them get ahead. I wasn't here to win. I was here for the finish line. Darren was waiting at the halfway point with a shit-eating grin and a drone controller. "You ready for this?" he asked. Born ready. The drone lifted off, carrying a banner I had made at the local print shop. "Congratulations to the Green Dream Team. Hope the itch was worth it." It flew overhead just as the lead runners approached the finish line. Marta and Julian were in the front pack, probably hoping to salvage some dignity with a good finish time. The banner unfurled right above them as they crossed the line. The crowd erupted in laughter and applause. People were pointing, taking pictures, and recording videos. Marta and Julian stood there, breathing hard, looking up at the banner with expressions of pure horror. "Mac McKinley, you magnificent bastard!" someone shouted from the crowd. A local news reporter pushed through the crowd, microphone in hand. "Can you tell us about the banner? Is there a story here?" "Just celebrating some local celebrities," I said, grinning at the camera. "They've been making quite an impression around town lately." Julian pushed through the crowd toward me, his face twisted with rage. "You son of a bitch." Now, I said loudly. "No need to get green around the gills." He swung at me, a wild, angry punch that I saw coming from a mile away. I ducked, and his momentum carried him into a group of runners. He went down hard, taking 2 other people with him. The crowd gasped, then started laughing again. Julian scrambled to his feet, his race number torn, his shirt dirty, and what remained of his dignity completely shattered. "You're insane," Marta screamed at me. "I'm creative," I corrected. "There's a difference." Security showed up and escorted Julian away before he could take another swing. Marta followed, her head down, ignoring the laughter and whispers. The banner made the local news that night. The reporter called it a mysterious message that has the whole town talking. They interviewed several people who claimed to know the story, each version more ridiculous than the last. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. We need to talk. Meet me at the parking garage downtown. Midnight. Come alone. It was signed, a friend. The downtown parking garage at midnight was exactly as creepy as it sounds. Concrete pillars cast long shadows under the flickering fluorescent lights, and every footstep echoed.
2,000! I didn't get any jewelry.
I was ending
With a
it.
diamond goodbye gift?
Watch more on Grammarly.com.
Like a gunshot. I'd brought Darren anyway, despite the come alone instruction. He waited in his truck on the street level while I climbed to the third floor. A woman stepped out from behind a pillar, mid-30s, athletic build, long dark hair. She looked familiar, but I couldn't place her. You're Mac McKinley, she said. It wasn't a question. Depends who's asking. Someone who hates Julian Carter as much as you do. She extended her hand. I'm Rebecca Torres, Julian's ex-girlfriend. That's where I'd seen her, in photos on Julian's social media, back before he'd scrubbed his accounts clean. What do you want? To help you destroy him. She pulled out a flash drive. Everything's on here. Financial records, client information, evidence of theft, fraud, and sexual harassment. Julian's been using the gym as his personal piggy bank and hunting ground for years. I took the drive. Why give this to me? Because he destroyed my life, and now he's doing it to your wife. The difference is, you're actually fighting back. My wife made her own choices. Your wife's an idiot, but she doesn't deserve what Julian's planning. Which is? Rebecca laughed bitterly. He's not leaving his job for her. He's using her to cover his tracks while he steals from the gym and disappears. She thinks they're going to run away together, but he's planning to vanish with about $50,000 of embezzled money and leave her holding the bag. The pieces clicked into place. Julian wasn't just a narcissistic trainer. He was a con artist. And Marta was his perfect patsy. How do you know all this? Because I helped him plan it, before I found out he was cheating on me with half his clients. She pulled out her phone and showed me a recording app. I've been documenting everything for months, waiting for the right moment. Why not go to the police? With what? He's careful and he's got the gym management fooled. But you've already got everyone talking. You've made him visible, vulnerable. Now, we can finish him? I studied her face in the dim light. What's in it for you? Watching him burn. Fair enough. We spent an hour going through the evidence. Julian had been skimming membership fees, overcharging clients for special sessions, and selling gym equipment online while reporting it as stolen. The harassment was harder to prove but well documented. Dozens of inappropriate texts, photos, and voice messages to female clients. He keeps backup files of everything on his home computer, Rebecca said, including videos. Videos of what? His conquests. He films everything without telling them. Your wife's probably on there. My blood ran cold. The green dye and itching powder suddenly seemed like child's play. Where does he live? Loft apartment on 5th Street. But Mac, she grabbed my arm. Don't do anything stupid. Let the evidence speak for itself. I pocketed the flash drive. Thanks for this. Thank me by making sure he gets what he deserves. I met Darren at his truck and filled him in on everything. So, what's the plan? He asked. We're going to pay Julian a visit. I was hoping you'd say that. Julian's building was one of those converted warehouses that rich kids pretend is urban living. We waited until 2 a.m., then slipped in through the parking garage. The security was a joke. One camera that didn't even work, and a door lock I could have picked with a paperclip. His loft was on the 4th floor, all exposed brick and pretentious modern furniture. We didn't break anything, didn't steal anything. We just made some improvements. Green dye in the shampoo, conditioner, and body wash. Itching powder in his sheets, pillowcases, and towels. Super glue in his favorite shoes. And on his apartment door, a poster-sized printout. The cheater board. With photos of Julian and various women including Marta. The photos came from his own computer, which wasn't even password protected. Rebecca was right. He had videos of everything, including several sessions with my wife, that made me want to punch through a wall. I copied everything to my own drive, then left his computer exactly as we'd found it. Think he'll get the message? Darren asked as we headed back to the truck. If he doesn't, tomorrow's going to be very educational. Thursday morning, Julian's building was buzzing with activity. Apparently, several residents had seen the cheater board and taken photos before building management could remove it. By noon, it was all over social media. Julian himself was easy to spot. He looked like he'd been dipped in green paint again, and he was scratching constantly. The shampoo had worked even better than I'd hoped. He cornered me at the gym that afternoon, looking like a radioactive scarecrow. "This ends now," he snarled. "What ends? Your career? Your reputation? Your dignity?" I shrugged. "Looks like it already has. I'll destroy you." "With what? Your charm? Your integrity? Your stunning good looks?" He was shaking with rage, his green-tinted face twisted into something barely human. "You have no idea what you're dealing with." "Actually, I do." I pulled out my phone and showed him a screenshot from Rebecca's flash drive. $50,000, Julian. That's a lot of membership fees. His face went white under the green. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Sure you don't. Just like you don't know about the videos, the harassment, or the plan to frame my wife for your embezzlement. You're bluffing." "Am I?" I showed him another screenshot, a text conversation between him and Marta, where he'd outlined exactly how she could help him restructure the gym's finances. Julian stared at the phone, his mouth opening and closing like a dying fish. "Here's what's going to happen," I continued. "You're going to confess everything to gym management. You're going to return the money you stole, and you're going to leave town. Or what? Or I send all of this to the police, the local news, and every gym in the tri-state area. Your choice." He lunged at me then, all pretense of civilization gone. But Julian was a pretty boy who lifted weights for show. I was a construction worker who'd been in real fights. I caught his wrist, twisted his arm behind his back, and slammed him face first into the wall. "Bad choice," I said, pressing his face against the concrete. "Very bad choice." Darren appeared beside me, grinning. "Need a hand?" "Nah, I got this." I pulled Julian away from the wall and shoved him toward the exit. "Run along, sport, and remember, I'm watching." He stumbled toward the parking lot, green and defeated. That evening, Marta called. "Mac, we need to talk." "About what? Your boyfriend's criminal activities? His plan to steal 50 grand and leave you holding the bag? Or maybe his collection of sex videos featuring you and half the gym?" Silence. "Rebecca told you," she said finally. "Rebecca showed me. There's a difference. I didn't know about the money, but you knew about the videos." More silence. "I was going to leave him," she said finally, "after I found out about the cameras." "When?" "Yesterday. Convenient timing." "Mac, I made a mistake. A huge, terrible mistake. But I never meant for any of this to happen. You meant to cheat on me. You meant to humiliate me. You meant to divorce me and take half my assets. The only thing you didn't mean was getting caught. Can we talk? In person? No. Please, I'll do anything." "Good. Start by staying away from me." I hung up and poured myself a beer. Tomorrow was Friday, and the town's annual Founders Day Festival was this weekend. Perfect timing for a grand finale. Saturday morning dawned bright and clear. Perfect weather for Founders Day. The whole town turned out for the festival. Food trucks, live music, craft booths, and enough gossip to fuel a soap opera. I'd spent Friday night making preparations, flyers, banners, and a special surprise that would make the charity run look like a warm-up act. The festival's main stage was set up in Memorial Park with huge video screens for the live music performances. What most people didn't know was that the screens could display any video feed with the right equipment. Darren had the technical skills, courtesy of his military background. I had the motivation and the footage. Julian showed up around noon, still faintly green and trying to blend into the crowd. He'd probably hoped people would forget about the cheater board incident, but small towns have long memories. Marta arrived an hour later with Serena. both of them wearing oversized sunglasses and trying to look casual. The yellow-brown tint in Marta's skin was barely visible now, but everyone knew the story. I waited until the crowd was at its biggest, around 2 p.m., when the main band was setting up. That's when Darren activated our video feed. The screens flickered, then displayed a simple message: Founders Day, special presentation. The truth about our local fitness experts. The crowd turned toward the screens, expecting some kind of promotional video. Instead, they got a carefully edited montage of Julian and Marta's greatest hits. The green dye incident at the motel, faces blurred for legal protection, but everyone knew who it was. Screenshots of their text messages with phone numbers blocked, photos from Julian's apartment showing the cheater board, and finally, a recording of Julian's confession. Rebecca had wired herself during their final confrontation. "I've been skimming money from the gym for months," Julian's voice echoed across the park. "Marta was helping me cover it up. She's as guilty as I am." The crowd was dead silent, then erupted in shocked whispers and nervous laughter. Julian tried to run, but the crowd was too thick. He pushed through families with children, knocking over a stroller in his panic. That's when the mood turned ugly. "Hey," someone shouted, "that's the guy from the video. The one who's been stealing and filming women without permission." Julian made it to the parking lot, but his car wouldn't start. He'd left his lights on and killed the battery. I walked over to where he stood, frantically trying to flag down a taxi that would never come. "Need a jump?" I asked. He spun around, his face wild with desperation. "You destroyed my life." "You destroyed your own life. I just made sure everyone got to see it. I'll sue you for everything you're worth. With what lawyer? What money? What reputation?" I laughed. "You're finished, Julian. Done. Stick a fork in yourself." A police car pulled up and 2 officers got out. Rebecca had filed her complaint that morning, armed with all the evidence from the flash drive. "To Julian Carter," the first officer said, "you're under arrest for embezzlement and unauthorized recording." They cuffed him right there in the parking lot, while half the town watched and filmed with their phones. Marta tried to approach me as Julian was driven away. "Mac, please, don't." I held up my hand. "Just don't. I know you hate me, but I'm still your wife." "Were. Past tense. Divorce papers were filed this morning." Her face crumpled. "What am I going to do? My job, my reputation, everything's ruined." "You should have thought of that before you decided to fuck your trainer and help him steal money." "I didn't know about the money. You knew about the cameras. You knew about the other women. You knew you were married to me and did it anyway." I turned to walk away, then stopped. "By the way, you might want to find a new place to live. I changed the locks." She stood there in the parking lot, crying behind her oversized sunglasses while the crowd slowly dispersed. Barb appeared beside me, grinning like a cat with a canary. "Mac, that was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." "Just getting started," I said. Sunday morning, the local newspaper ran the story on the front page. "Local fitness trainer arrested in embezzlement scandal." The article mentioned Julian's inappropriate relationship with a married client and his pattern of predatory behavior toward female gym members. Julian made bail Monday morning, but it didn't matter. His career was over, his reputation destroyed, and his legal bills were just beginning. The gym fired him immediately and banned him from the premises. 3 other women came forward with harassment complaints. Marta lost her job Tuesday. The gym's corporate office decided she was too much of a liability, especially after the festival video went viral on social media. She tried to claim she was a victim, but nobody was buying it. She moved in with her sister in another state, leaving behind 23 years of marriage and a town full of people who would never forget her as the woman who helped her lover steal money and got turned green for her trouble. Rebecca got her revenge and a job offer from a gym in Chicago that appreciated her detective work. She sent me a thank you card with a picture of Julian in handcuffs. Darren and I became local legends. The story of the Green Dream Team spread far beyond our little town, inspiring copycat pranks and earning us free drinks at Murphy's Bar for months. As for me, I kept working construction, kept living in my house, and kept enjoying my freedom. The divorce was finalized in record time. Marta didn't contest anything, probably hoping I wouldn't release more evidence of her stupidity. 6 months later, I was dating Rebecca. She had a wicked sense of humor and an appreciation for creative problem solving. Plus, she looked fantastic in green. The last I heard, Julian was working at a car wash in Florida, still faintly tinted and probably still itching. Marta was selling insurance and going by her maiden name. Sometimes people ask me if I regret what I did, if I went too far with the revenge. I tell them the same thing every time. They got exactly what they deserved. And as I watched Marta drive away that final Sunday, her car loaded with the pathetic remnants of her old life, streaked with the fading evidence of her betrayal and completely broken by her own choices, I realized something important. Revenge doesn't heal you, doesn't make you whole, doesn't bring back what you lost. But damn, it can make you smile.